is the World Cup Daily Show on Citi TV. We'll take a very quick break. When we come back, we zoom in on the second semi-final between France and Morocco. Exciting times. Like I said, there's a lot of history to be made depending on which team makes the final from this set. So we'll be right back from this short break. This is the World Cup Daily Show. Show is proudly brought to you by 1xBet and by Electroland. Welcome back. This is the World Cup Daily Show on Citi TV, brought to you by 1xBet and by Electroland. Guys, the second semi-final is upon us between France and Morocco. France are defending champions. I never thought I'd see this day when, in this era, you'd have a team getting close to defending their World Cup title. Usually, they get killed, stage worst.
The last time we got a World Cup team going far after defending.
Brazil.
Well, yeah, that was Brazil got quarterfinals in 2006.
No,
but I'm saying even before the 94, exactly, they went to back-to-back finals.
Back-to-back finals. Actually, three straight finals.
Germany also did that, 82, 86, and 90. But they lost two finals. Brazil won two. That's the difference.
Brazil won two, lost one.
And they had their star player poisoned in the one in the two. It would have been 3 in a row.
We don't know that for a fact. Oh. He was convulsed.
How do you get just slapped and nothing?
Look, I'll not say this loud, but I believe in that thing.
They gave him something. I went to face host nation on the final day. Then you wake up in the morning, you start foaming in the mouth. You think he just...
They wanted to do something.
Wasn't there? I thought it was the night before.
It was the day of the game. The morning of the game.
I know it was in the lead up to the game. They wanted to drop him. They weren't sure to drop him.
Edmundo and things. That's
They should have also taken Romario to that World Cup, but I digress.
All right, let's start off with France. Let's see how the French got here. Okay, let's look at the numbers first, and I'm sure we'll see how they got here. Interesting stuff from their last games. France's XG against England was 1.2. Morocco's XG against Portugal was 1.3. Of course, France had a lot more of the ball in their game if you compare to what the Moroccans did. Passing accuracy, you see the difference. Shots inside the box, you see Morocco getting 5.
How poor Fernando Santos is. Give Morocco their best attacking numbers in the competition.
I went back to watch the game again, and it was a very bizarre performance, especially from a coaching perspective. From some of the decisions he took in that game, you wonder. They had 3 shots on target in that game, 9 shots in all. If you look at France, 5 shots on target, they scored twice. Morocco scored once. But of course, the 2 games are different, so the context is important. So let me start off with you. Let's look at France first. Your thoughts, maybe from a numbers perspective, but actually what you've seen them do in this World Cup from day 1 till today.
About France?
Yes.
Yeah, and look, they've been better than everybody they've played so far, aside England, in my opinion, in the sense that they've had the better squad. They've been expected to win. So they haven't really been challenged. England was their first challenge. And truth be told, they nearly failed it. So I agree with Daniel there that it wasn't a very convincing performance. Yes, they got the win. Yes, I think from open play they were better. But you gave away 2 penalties in the World Cup quarterfinal. That alone is a red flag. That shows your defensive capability, how shaky it is. And you were lucky that Harry Kane missed. Because if he had scored that second penalty, who knows what happens, you know. Did you see France having a 3rd goal in that game? Probably not, because, again, they were struggling to create chances. Because remember, Tchouaméni basically gave you a goal out of nothing. Giroud also kind of had to work hard. That wasn't an easy goal. He had to work for that goal. So when you look at the goals France scored in that game, nothing came easy to them. It was a matter of players doing something. It was kind of players using their quality to get goals. And I always say this, that when I look at this from a statistical perspective, yes, it's good when your players have that quality to get you the goals. But what you want is to be creating opportunities that any player on the team can score. That's the ideal chance creation situation. That's what you want 9 times out of 10, that you are creating chances that if you give it to Griezmann, you give it to Theo Hernandez, you give it to Mbappe, you give it to Giroud, you give it to them, it doesn't matter who gets that chance, it will go in. And if you are scoring goals where it's like, I don't think Rabiot could have scored that chance. I don't think Mbappe could have scored that chance. Only Giroud could have scored that chance. You're in a bit of a bad situation going forward. Then we come back to the defense. I like Upamecano and Varane because I think they are good defenders, but they also are very mistake-prone. And in Varane's case, what we've seen is when he's supposed to be kind of the leader of the defense. He makes more mistakes more often than not. When he's not playing alongside Sergio Ramos, he looks a lot worse than we've seen him look at Real Madrid. And Upamecano, he's a great defender in the sense that he has the pace and power. And when he's focused, because he has moments where he kind of loses concentration. And that's the point for Upamecano for me. Because I believe if he was slow, he'd be playing in League 2, sorry. Because he's able to recover. He has that pace and power, but his mistakes are a bit too many. And looking at all of that, and Theo Hernandez, I love Theo Hernandez, but Theo Hernandez is more useful going forward than defending. So there's a lot of good players in that squad I like, but there's also a lot more weaknesses than they had 4 years ago. Because 4 years ago, there's a reason he played Pavard and Lucas Hernandez. He wanted solid defensive players. Because Lucas Hernandez cannot do what Theo Hernandez does going forward. He cannot do it. The same way Pavard, he's similar to Koundé in that way. But even then, he's better going forward than Koundé. So even then, you have the same defensive solidity on the right side, but going forward, you've lost something. Then your midfield, we've already spoke about no Kante, no Pogba, how difficult that has been for them, and how Rabiot and Tchouaméni, whilst they are doing their best, and they've done very well. Their profile and their skill set means that there's certain things they can't do. Because if you are leading the game 1-0, you are trying to kind of control the tempo of the game, Rabiot and Tchouaméni will have a lot more difficulty doing that than Pogba and Kante. That's an example. If you need to break a line, play a killer pass, Rabiot and Tchouaméni cannot do what Pogba can do in that regard. Griezmann is trying his best. I think Griezmann has had an amazing tournament, playing a more unfamiliar role because he's deeper than he usually is. But you are putting a lot of pressure on someone who doesn't play that role usually. He's a great player because he's doing it well, but it just shows you the limitations. And Mbappe, again, great tournament. Giroud, great tournament. They are both playing very well. But when you look at the weaknesses behind them, this team is way more vulnerable than they were 4 years ago. Because when we saw them going to play Croatia, the only thing we could say was that, okay, Croatia have a better midfield. Maybe you can say. But what else do Croatia have?
They didn't have a better midfield.
I disagree, but anyway.
They didn't have a better midfield.
I disagree.
When? 4 years ago?
Individually, maybe. But as a unit, the world hasn't seen a better midfield combination than Pogba and Kante. As a unit, together, the job they do.
I guess.
Matuidi was playing left wing.
Matuidi was on the left.
Pogba, Kante.
In central
Maybe
midfield.
go and call Busquets, Xavi, and Iniesta. Even that one, we can have a debate. Pogba and Kante together. Nobody comes close.
Opinion noted.
It's not opinion, it's fact.
Can I finish?
Modric, Rakitic, and whoever. They met Pogba and Kante in the World Cup final.
Can I finish?
And what did he do to them?
Can I finish?
40-yard assist. Scored in the World Cup final.
Can I finish?
Kante is solid.
Can
It's
I
not
finish?
opinion. We met and I beat you.
I disagree.
Okay,
I
you
disagree.
move on.
So even that midfield, why are you doing this to me? Why are you stressing me? So even that day, even Kante, he had a poor game that day. But the fact is, when
Pogba handled it.
don't worry, when Kante had a poor game, even the replacement they brought in Zonzi, it's a solid player. And you look at the French bench now. Let's say Tchouaméni is struggling. Who are they going to bring on?
Camavinga.
And we've seen Camavinga sometimes, because of his age, he can be inconsistent.
So essentially, you're saying that if you compare France to the team they had 4 years ago, the drop-off in quality is wide. But then they have these individual players. You've mentioned Griezmann, who I think has been very underrated. You've mentioned Mbappe, brilliant. Giroud. So these three have somehow
Hernandez
passed the halfway line. Sorry. These four have powered France to a World Cup semi-final and on the brink.
Even Rabiot to a certain
Rabiot to an extent. On the brink of a final.
Yes, but that's what the point I'm making. If they were to face this 2018 team, the 2018 team would beat them 3-0. No question.
Right.
Even though Mbappe is probably 1.5 times the player he was, they will beat them.
Okay.
3-0.
Daniel, so we've highlighted all of this. Now they come up against Morocco, a team that has disrupted all kinds of predictions. They've kicked out Portugal, dumped out Spain. They were in a group that had Belgium, and they made it ahead of the Belgians. So how will they look like, or how will France see such a problem? How will they tackle such a problem? We saw what they did against England, even though I still feel England were second best, maybe because of the result. But people say England played well. That's a story for another day. But
they played better than
they usually would do. So, so how will France handle Morocco now?
I feel, after seeing the team news, I feel like France are in a much better position.
The centre-back injuries.
The centre-back injuries. If Aguerd and Saiz are not playing, that is huge. Yamiku comes in. He's tall, but does he have the agility and
even the experience,
positional awareness that as Saiz and Aguerd, especially Saiz, because he's been the key. He's been the leader dictating the line, positioning, everything.
Okay.
He's done it. And you could even tell when he went off against Portugal, the attack started becoming more dangerous. And the Portuguese started feeling like with more balls into the box. And they actually had the chances. It was poor finish.
Pepe
let his team down.
Yeah. He went to get blamed there.
But no, you see, so when you look at that and you add the fact that there's Giroud in the box, there are men in the box. What's his name? Rabiot also slots into that box, and I'm sure today we'll see a lot of crosses from France. I will see that. I will ask Morocco to alter their style a bit and make use of their attacking players a bit more, because there's space in that French defense. I think if they sit back and they try and defend, in the first 20 minutes, the game plan will be out of the window, because France will score, and France have that ability to score. And that, I've seen people talking about the one-on-one battle between Hakimi and Mbappe. Let's not go there. Mbappe will mess him up. One-on-one, he will mess him up.
Luckily, you probably have someone behind him. So once Mbappe gets me, the person come and kind of clear out.
But you see, I feel like Morocco should. It's funny, it's interesting coming from me, but I feel like they should be a bit more attacking today.
Now I can say this World Cup has had everything that Daniel Kwan is asking a team to open up. I say this World Cup has had everything.
Yeah. Because the personnel are not there for you to pack the bus. The personnel are not there for you to play the kind of football that you've played. If he trusts the guys on the bench, yes. But you see, when you look at the quality, the gulf in class between the guys who start and the guys on the bench for Morocco, even the guy who thankfully got sent off in that game against, if he's your option, we saw him when he came on against Spain. He struggles to control the ball. He's that poor, that bad of a player. It's not good. When you look at the gulf in class, it's vast. And without Aguerd, you see, it's not the Aguerd and size. It's not just the ability. It's the
partnership.
The partnership. They have everything. They are an institution on their own in the center back of or the defense of the Moroccans. So for me, it will be very difficult if they choose to go this style again against the French team, because France have watched them enough. And France, even if they hadn't watched them, they still have the perfect antidote for them in Olivier Giroud. That target man sort of player who, and I feel if Morocco want to go that way, Mbappe will play a bit closer to Giroud. I don't think he'll be hugging the touchline and doing the crossing. I think he'll be a bit closer to Giroud, trying to sniff off the loose balls that Giroud will knock off. And that is extremely dangerous. If you have that, it's very difficult to deal with that. I feel like France have conceded a goal in every game this competition. The defense is there for the taking. If Australia are scoring goals against these guys, then you know that it's there. You can score them. You can breach them.
So I have a question, Daniel. I'm hearing Upamecano and Rabiot might not play. How do you think that would affect the game?
And who come in? Fofana and who?
Let's say Fofana and maybe Diassi. Who's the other centre back?
Maybe they might Konate.
Konate, yes, it will be Konate and Fofana.
You see, and if they play Konate and Fofana and you want to go your route one, El Nesri will struggle against, especially Fofana. He can deal with him all day. Mm-hmm. You get me? So your strengths in terms of individuals are already being negated by who France have. Dealing with those long balls into the box. In fact, being satisfied sitting down and allowing them to hit balls into the box and you defending it. It's already been undone on paper by your two centre backs being missing and France having Olivier Giroud. And on the flip side too, there's Konate. And I think it would be very smart to start Konate with Varane, because there's a height, they are physical, they know how to deal with a player like that. I feel like if you look at the Unahi boy, you look at Hakim Ziyech and El Nesri, I think you see, let's not act like we've not seen Morocco play the ball on the ground. They know how to
what
play.
They usually do at AFCON is they usually come and play
football.
Everyone.
They can play. So I feel like this is the game. I'm not saying that. Be smart about it. Manage the situations. Don't come and play and try and impress anybody. No. But don't also be satisfied sitting back and doing the sort of performance we saw against Spain. I think against Portugal, they balanced it a bit well, but they were a bit more direct. If you go with if you are playing majority of the ball in the air, France will think they'll deal with it better than the Portuguese did. I think if you put it on the floor and you allow the one-on-one battles, Unahi and the guys in the midfield, exactly what I'm going to say again. If Saka and Co can pick the ball and they can drive through, Bellingham can drive through. We've seen Unahi do it against the best in this competition. He can do it. And the French defensive cover is not as strong as before, where you would have tried to alter a plan around that. So for me, look, I want to see a more offensive Morocco, but it should be smart. It shouldn't be Spain style, come and pass. No, it should be smart. Maybe they should do it in moments. There are times, like what the Japanese did. You can go for blocks, maybe 15 minutes, you are trying to play, try and get a goal. If it doesn't happen, you sit back for a while, then you kick in again, then you sit back for a while. But something must change. I don't think if they maintain the style that they've been using throughout the competition, I think France will
easy win.
France will beat them.
Easy win. Let's talk about the two goalkeepers. We're talking about Hugo Lloris. How much of a difference will Yassine Bono probably make today?
I think he might have his Livakovic moments. That's how I see it.
That's coming to an end.
No, it's coming to an end in the sense that he's not been tested as much as other keepers. The way Livakovic has saved everything, he might have to have his Livakovic moments, and that might be the difference. In fact, things might go as Daniel expects, and France break them down and continue to get chances. But
Bono is there.
Now it's Bono's time to really show us who he is. He's had a good World Cup so far, don't get me wrong, but he will really elevate himself, and that's the possibility. That's one of the great things about having him behind you. And on the converse side, Lloris might have that moment that we've all been dreading, and Morocco gets an easy goal, and that's the game. So those two keepers, I think their relative weaknesses and strengths could be very important, because I think personnel-wise and tactically, Morocco they're outmatched. They can't go their usual style. Player for player, they're not as good. So their keeper Bono has to step up. He has to have the game of his life, really.
And again, from a mental point of view, I think Morocco should do their possible best not to concede a first goal. Because when you've gone for such a long period and you ride on your defensive solidity and you can brag about the fact that you don't concede goals from nobody has scored you, and France coming in the first 15, 20 minutes, they get a goal. It can derail you mentally, and then it will be 3, 4, 5 in quick succession. So they don't want that to happen to them. So that's what I'm saying. Maybe they should start a bit conservative, but as the game goes on, try and explore more attacking options and aside the route one. Because if Konate is playing, which I think he shouldn't, I think he would, and I think he deals with it unnecessary all day.
It should be quite interesting between France and Morocco in the quarterfinals of the 2022 World Cup. Yeah, let's talk about the weight of expectation. For France, they are getting to another World Cup final. If they do it, it will be the first time they've gone to back-to-back finals, I believe. 98, they were in the final. 2006, they were in the final. So that's 2018. Yeah. And then if they get here, that will be second straight after 2018. For Morocco, they are already in uncharted waters. No African country has gone as far as they have. And if they make the final, it's even more history for the continent and for themselves. So when you think about the weight of expectation, who do you think will be feeling it more?
Of course, the French.
Okay.
I think Morocco, where they've reached and how they've made history. Okay. Why would you even feel nervous in that sense? Like,
it's confidence. It's high on confidence.
Where you are is like, you've done something that's never been done before. No one will forget who they are. They've written their name into the books of world history, African history. So in terms of football history, they've made it. France, what France are trying to do is not even revolutionary. It's been done.
10 60 years.
Brazil have done it. I'm just saying. So it's not anything new. They are trying to win it for their own personal. They want to win it and say, okay, we're the first team in 60 years. Fair enough. But for Morocco, the fact that they are playing with zero expectation, I don't think anyone at home is looking at Morocco and saying that if you guys lose the next 2 games, you've disappointed us. It will never be that way. So in France are the ones who have to win this game, because I think for the French public, if they lose to Morocco, it's not going to go down well. It really won't. Because
it would have been better to lose to England.
Or Portugal. Yeah. It won't go down well to lose to Morocco. And that's what makes Morocco so dangerous, in the sense that now, every team that's playing them from now on, aside maybe Croatia, if they go to the third place playoff, has put in their head that we shouldn't be losing to Morocco. So that pressure alone means that as you are playing the game, you are not playing the game with a clear head that this is a match of equals, let's just do our best. You are playing the game as in, we shouldn't be losing this game. And when you play with that, we shouldn't be losing. If you concede first, the nerves just shoot up because it's just like, how are we here? Why are we losing to this team? Like, what can we do to make it better? So it really becomes a problem. So mentally, the Moroccans have the advantage. They are kind of like, in a battle, the team that has the army that has the higher ground supposedly has the advantage. Yeah. They have the mental higher ground because there's no expectations, there's no pressure. But I think France, there's a lot more pressure. They've won their World Cup already, don't get me wrong. I don't think it will be failure for them to lose here or the final. But the fact that you are doing it and you can't lose to Morocco, and we saw it for Argentina against Saudi. When they went behind, that's how are we here? Mm-hmm. It paralyzed them. And it can paralyze any team. It doesn't matter where you've been or what you've done before. You can be paralyzed by a team that you are not supposed to be losing to. So that's where Morocco have the advantage.
Great. Daniel, should we expect anything like this? 122 minutes?
No, if there's 122 minutes, there will be clear-cut opportunities and be a goalkeeper's game. They are not Spain. They don't pass the ball for passing sake. These are two purposeful teams who do try and make use of the ball when they have it. If you watch the numbers, you can tell. France have not necessarily banked their success on possession. It's what they do when they have the ball, same as Morocco. So I think we'll see a lot more shots. Even if it goes to a penalty shootout, we'll see a lot more shots. We'll see a lot more world-class saves for it to force the game into a penalty shootout. And definitely not like what Spain did.
Not scoring at all in their penalty shootout. It will be fascinating.
And speaking of penalty shootouts, I heard an interesting stat from Luis Enrique's Twitch. According to their research, Bono dives the right way 80% of the time for penalties.
You're kidding.
Yeah, they said they had done their research. So I think all of those things meant that once they went to the penalty shootout, mentally they were out of it. Because if you are facing a keeper 80% of the time, he's guessing right. How will you even feel going to take a penalty?
Because he knows where exactly you are going to put it. Or he can almost guess where you are going to put it.
That's hit it straight. Keepers always dive in a penalty shootout. Unless you are those Neymar type penalties where they are locked.
They are free, exactly.
Yeah, they always dive. So just fire
it rather look strange that you didn't try and dive.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you don't have an idea, what are you diving for the fun of it?
You're out to guess. The thing is, if you don't dive before the penalty is struck, it will be too late most of the time, unless the penalty is poor. So I think keepers have to dive before the penalty is taken. So that's where the kicker has the advantage. He's able to kind of disguise where he's going to kick it, and he has the ability to change it at the last minute. That's what penalty takers should actually be focusing on. The ability to change their mind at the last minute and still hit an effective penalty.
Interesting. Daniel, we've seen this goal scored by El Nassiri. You were mentioning earlier that depending on who France puts at centre back, the Moroccans might not get such an advantage should the ball get crossed into the area.
Yeah, and I think so because of the strength of Konate.
Okay.
That physical, but he enjoys it. If you are going to put somebody, and I think we've seen it quite a number of times in the Premier League. If you are going to put that, he's not like Van Dijk, who doesn't necessarily like one-on-one proper old-fashioned defending. Konate is nice, he's silky with the ball, but he can also do that. And I just feel like he's more than capable of handling necessary. If Saïs was on the pitch, I think it would be very difficult between himself and Giroud. Although it favors the attacker, because if by all means one will find his head.
And the thing is, because Giroud is so big, there's very few defenders who will want to be.
And his movement,
90 minutes.
His movement can't cause
He's
problems.
so difficult to deal with. He's
and
not
playing and to add to that, playing deep favors him because he doesn't want to be running a lot. So if you are deep, he's already where he needs to be.
Shedira.
So he's already where he needs to be if you are playing deep. It's rather if you press France high up and lock them in their half, and he has to do a lot of running, you reduce his movement. Because if he's there, sometimes he might not even take the shot. He might see someone, just a flick, and your defense is unbalanced because you're all moving one direction. He flicks it back, and maybe Griezmann is running behind him, and Griezmann can just strike the ball. Then it's him and Bono, you know, that kind of thing. So Giroud in the box, he offers a lot of kind of options and problems for defenders.
Wow, it should be fun. It should be fascinating Both teams hoping to make history. Morocco hoping to become the first African country to make the World Cup final. France hoping to be the first country in 60 years to have a shot. Not first country, but the first country in 60 years to defend.
Yes.
Yeah, if they make another final, it won't be that strained. Like we mentioned, Brazil did 3 straight, 94, 98.
Just before Brazil,
yes,
actually.
so Germany and then Brazil. After Brazil, it looks like teams struggle to make back-to-back finals in this World Cup. And France are hoping to buck the trend later today when they take on Morocco. Guys, just before we wrap it up, predictions?
France 2-0.
I was thinking this.
France to win. Do you want to give 2-1?
2-0.
2-0.
I think 2-0 as well. I think because if they are going to rely on the same long ball that they've tried to rely on, I think because Varane, Upamecano, Konate, whoever plays, they are lightning quick. It will be much more because I think when it was Ruben Diaz and Pepe, they are
Ruben Diaz been the weak link.
They are both much slower. Pepe at 39. I mean, you can't expect him to be winning a foot race against anybody. But he still is able to keep up. But the lack of pace makes a whole difference. Because I think if you're relying on, and illness relies on his physicality. Mm-hmm. So if you're playing against other strong physical striker defenders, he's going to have a harder game because he tries to overpower them with pace or power. Because he's lightning quick as well as being tall. So he tries to use one or the other to kind of get the advantage. When you're playing against defenders who have both, he doesn't have that advantage. And for me, he lacks a bit technically and in terms of his movements. That he has good movement, but he's just not that elite mover. And his technique is not really there. So he relies on his pace and power. And if they can match him, he'll have a tough game. So that's why I see the game being lost for them. They can't use El Nesiri as much.
Okay, all right. Guys, we'll be back here tomorrow to break it down. Nobody knows how it will play out. Hopefully, it should be incident-free and drama-free. No controversial penalties.
No, that will come in the final.
That will come in the final.
Yeah.
And Morocco will get a controversial penalty in the final.
In the final.
Yeah.
And then they win it.
Yeah.
So that will be the end. That will be a lovely end to Daniel Cranton's,
No. Messi will score in the final. Penalty. 2.
2 penalties.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. We'll see how it plays out. France and Morocco happening later today at 7 p.m. Ghana time as they fight for a slot in the 2022 World Cup final. We'll catch you tomorrow with another exciting episode of World Cup Daily on Citi TV. My name is Nathan Crow. I had Daniel Cranton and Susu Graham here with me. Show was proudly brought to us by 1xBet and by Electroland. We'll catch you tomorrow. Do join us, and hopefully the semi-final or this second semi-final should be fun, exciting. Should have lots of talking points for us to enjoy. We'll catch you then. Enjoy the rest of your day.